Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and to show how long I've been following the Lickerish Quartet, I spoke to Roger probably 2 months before the first EP came out. So it's wonderful to see how this story is unfolded. When did you actually finish volume 3?
We wrapped it up essentially a few months ago, because during the pandemic, of course, we had to do file share to kind of complete the last 2. So we wrapped it up probably about 3 or 4 months ago in total. So yeah, we're excited to have it out finally.
In having the 3 done, has there begun any discussion about, hey, volume 4 or a full length or anything like that? Or is there really just one release at a time?
We have not discussed anything about a possible volume 4. You know, we never had any intention to take the show on the road, so to speak. So, you know, if we have time, we'll talk about it. We're certainly open to doing music together, but everybody does have other commitments as well. So
That's true. In your case, we never know where we're going to see you pop up as a sideman, as a frontman, in a collaborative fashion and all that. Are you allowed to say what else you're working on at the moment? You know, the old Hollywood insider embargo, or is it really all Lickerish Quartet all the time?
I'm constantly doing a number of things. I'll do co-writes, session work. I still love to play music live, so I'll do that when I can. And the rest of the time, I'm writing songs for my next solo record, Sextus, of which I have 2 out already. So, you know, there's always something to do. And if you're not doing that, you're practicing or trying to learn how to, you know, learn the kazoo part or whatever.
They call Sextus your alter ego. Is that a fair term to call it that?
I think in a sense, yeah. Only because it's my my opportunity to be provocative or bawdy if I feel like it. But it doesn't mean that I'm you know, have multiple personalities. Well, I may have 2 multiple personalities, but I don't know. I'll do a count and get back to you on it.
Sounds good to me. So as somebody who was a big fan of Jellyfish, and I guess still is a big fan, can't just use the preterite tense, I'd imagine that there had to have been a switch that went in your life from, oh, stop the talk about Jellyfish, to, you know what, those are cool albums, I'm proud of that time. Around when was that for you that you stopped minding all the talk about Jellyfish?
Well, obviously, you know, Jellyfish gave me an amazing opportunity and a start in the business, and I was quite young then. So I always try to be grateful for the fact that I was even able to be in the company of such talented guys. So I don't get too miffed about talking about Jellyfish when someone asks. I kind of more or less, you sort of know as you age and go on in your career that people will always remember that first thing that you were involved with, or the thing that broke you or exposed you to a lot of people. It doesn't really bother me. So I'm always happy to talk about anything I've ever been involved with.
That's refreshing to hear. Now, as a recovering music industry person, I know the head of your UK label, Lojinx, and Andrew, he's a longtime fan of Jellyfish. So it's pretty interesting to see that somebody who came up as a big fan of your music gets to put out your records later on, that it's all full circle like that.
Yes, we're very lucky that we've had you know, supporters of what we do that work in the business. And he's been wonderful with helping us out on this.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, let's make up a number. Let's say Jellyfish sold 100,000 copies of album X. That means 100,000 singer-songwriters and producers bought that album. You're a musician's musician kind of band. And did that lead to your co-writing opportunities for the most part, rather than a manager?
It probably did have something to do with it. You know, I think that the work speaks for itself. I mean, there's also Imperial Drag, which Roger and I did back in the after Jellyfish.
Mm-hmm.
So that music has been a bit of a calling card and enabled me to participate with some incredible talent.
It's cool. Yeah, it's cool to see that you have a lot of artists hate the term power pop. They hear power pop and it just makes them cringe. And it's cool to see that you have cred in that circle, yet your work with Slash, Alice Cooper, etc., that led to cred in the, again, hate the genre term, hair metal or hard rock world. Yet Imperial Drag was more of an alternative band. It was embraced by 120 Minutes, the Matt Pinfields of the world. So there's 3 different rock scenes where they go, oh, Eric Dover's involved? Cool.
Yeah, and you know, I've been lucky to be accepted, you know, along the whole spectrum. I mean, the great thing about it is there's only 12 notes. Everybody's sharing them, unless you're talking about, you know, 19-tone music or something, quarter tones.
Folk stuff. Well, that actually leads me to something I've been curious about. When you're writing music for the Lickerish Quartet, people say because of your credits, okay, it has to be super hooky. Like I'm expecting a great chorus, I'm expecting great musicianship, and I'm expecting harmonies. All 3 of those boxes kind of have to be checked, that there's such a high bar set based on your prior work. Does that lead to, if there's 8 songs on an EP or album, that you wrote 8 songs, or is that kind of pared down from 25?
We didn't really have anything left over when we wrote for this record back in 2017 when the whole process began. It really boiled down to us getting in a room together and seeing what we were all collectively excited about. And that, you know, that's where we found our common ground. You know, we do really enjoy singing as a group ensemble and having that sound about us. They're the, you know, Tim and Roger, the only guys I could ever do that with. So we had to do it, essentially.
But you personally don't feel pressure of, hey, it has to be complex yet catchy?
No, well, not for me. I'm kind of the simpleton of the group. You know, I still like songs about cars and girls that have 4 chords. It just depends on if, for me, if it gives me a feeling. Really, it's truly a feelings-based response for me. So some of my favorite songs might have 2 chords in them, but you know, some of my favorite singers can't even really sing. So it's a little bit of an anachronism.
That's fair to say. I know that you were a Van Halen guy to begin with. You played at the infamous backyard party show with the Starfuckers and all that. Was Van Halen kind of your gateway into hard rock?
I would say yes, probably Led Zeppelin first. Led Zeppelin and Alice Cooper, The Who, Bad Company, Nazareth. Then a little bit later, I got into AC/DC and Van Halen, and of course, being 15 years old, that was like, that's what I want to do. I want to play guitar, and I asked my dad to buy a guitar for me, and he goes, "Well, get a job." So I got a job, and bought my first guitars that way. So I knew quite early that that's what I wanted to do.
Is it true you were in a Van Halen cover band called Brown M&Ms?
Well, it's not as much I mean, it is a cover band of sorts. It's more of a bunch of guys that love Van Halen. And we'll play together sometimes at the Whiskey, you know.
Oh, so it's an ongoing thing I didn't know about.
Well, yeah, it's just when we get you know, the opportunity and we feel like it. But there's no plans for it to be something serious. I mean, you know, I'm 55 years old, so you're not going to get me any more spandex pants. That's just not going to happen.
All these questions came from the fact that I'm very slowly writing a book about David Lee Roth. And, you know, the whole Van Halen end, it seems like there's an endless glut of articles where people go, tell me your Van Halen stories. I wasn't trying to clickbait you on that end, but you did play that infamous Eddie Van Halen backyard party, which kind of went viral. Did you know at the time that that was happening, that that was going to be filmed and go wide?
I didn't until I got there that day, actually. And I really didn't understand the scope of how big the party was until it came time for us to play. And I look out and there's all of these people in the backyard, and there's a lot of famous people that I recognize. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to really be something, isn't it? So yeah, that infamous is the correct word for that party, because I've never experienced anything like that in my life.
Were you the only Van Halen devotee in Jellyfish? I don't get the vibe that that was the influence of Roger on any level.
Oh, you'd have to ask Roger about that. I know that, everybody in Jellyfish, being a musician, appreciates Van Halen, whether it's their jam or not. I think Roger might appreciate a 10cc record more, but it's musicality. Seeing someone exercise their musicality like that, I think every musician can at least agree, even if they don't care for the music.
Sure. Well, bring it full circle towards the beginning of the interview. You talked about how Sextus, that's being worked on. There's co-writing going on. The future of the Lickerish Quartet is TBD. Are there any projects or things you're allowed to talk about that I missed that I should be asking about?
Ooh, well, not really at the moment. I think the last kind of large session that I did with Eric Scotus, the drummer of Imperial Drag, we sang on a Meatloaf song. That was a few years ago, though. A lot of the time now, we're just doing file share and working with different musicians all around the world and doing tracks. We lend our voices if they want to hire us, that kind of thing. And it's been really amazing, because there's a lot of really talented people out there that are writing some really cool songs, and so that's a joy for me. Nothing big is going to happen until I can put the Sextus record out, I think.
That thing that you just mentioned is the second to last thing I want to ask you about. It's an obsession of mine to find out that all these top players and our favorite musicians are playing on albums all the time through digital file sharing, but they're just these indie releases that we don't necessarily hear about. Maybe the liner notes didn't get picked up by All Music Guide. So in other words, your dentist could be hiring Abe Laboriel Jr. to play drums on his album. And it's a cool thing because, hey, working musicians are working. When did you start to see that that was a possibility for session work digital? It couldn't have just started with COVID, because I remember hearing about this 5-6 years ago with a lot of big players like Kurt Biscara.
I was pretty hip on file sharing, early on, because just a time and distance of wanting to work with musicians who can't always be in the same room. I prefer to be in the same room, so
Sure.
I like that immediate feedback. So there is a little bit of a different mindset that you have to get into when you work in this fashion. It's a different mindset altogether, because you'll finish something and then you'll go, gosh, I really hope that they like this, Whereas if you're in a room together, he's like Janine with Spinal Tap. Well, that's good. Oh, well, that's shit, So she says I'm eating too much sugar. Yeah.
Your astrology sign is a little off according to Janine as well. So
Right.
The last thing I want to know is every time my wife and I start a new TV show, we finish it in 4 days. Do you have a show that you can recommend for the next time we start a show?
Oh, to watch.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
What is Eric Dover watching and recommending?
Well, I don't really get a chance to watch a lot of TV, but I do like to watch Alan Partridge, anything that he does.
Sure.
Which English, trying to remember the last thing I watched on Netflix. It's been a while back. What's the last thing I watched on Netflix, honey? Oh, that's right. The Inventing Anna. That was good, actually. Really good.
That was a 4-day marathon, but hey, you got taste.
Yeah, that I think that actress should win an award. She was fantastic.
I don't know what that accent was, but anyone who can pull off that or a Johnny Depp accent, they deserve an Academy Award.
Yeah, it was a very strange German accent, but it wasn't a German accent either. It was kind of a mix, you know, Frisian, Germanic, you know.
Whatever it is, Eric, thank you for your time. Looking forward to the Sextus album. Hope there's more from the Lickerish Quartet, but in the meantime, we'll keep checking All Music Guide to see what you're working on.
Excellent. Thank you again, Darren.
Paltrocast.